Brazil, 1985, wasn't just a dystopian masterpiece. It was a war between a visionary director and Hollywood executives who wanted to destroy his film.
It's always stuck in my mind.
Universal Pictures re-edited it without permission. They created a happy ending that betrayed everything. Terry Gilliam bought a full-page ad in Variety declaring war.
You're allowed maybe 2 emotions in the entire film, and that's it.
And critics awarded it Best Picture before it was even released. These are 16 facts about the most spectacular battle in Hollywood history. Gilliam never read 1984. Brazil is constantly compared to George Orwell's 1984. The dystopian bureaucracy, the surveillance state, the torture, the loss of individual freedom. Every element screams Orwell.
I think it is a good idea.
Terry Gilliam even considered titling the film 1984 and a half, or 1984.5. But Gilliam had never actually read Orwell's novel when he wrote Brazil.
He doesn't have to argue the point too much, and
He only knew the story through cultural osmosis, secondhand knowledge, and what people told him about it. Michael Radford's film adaptation of 1984 was released during Brazil's pre-production, which made Gilliam very unhappy. He worried audiences would think he copied Radford. In reality, Gilliam created his nightmare from imagination, not from Orwell's pages. The 14mm Gilliam lens, cinematographer Roger Pratt shot Brazil using extremely wide-angle lenses that distorted reality and created disorienting perspectives. Gilliam specifically chose 14mm, 11mm, and 9.8mm lenses, the latter being cutting-edge technology at the time. The 9.8mm was one of the first ultra-wide lenses that didn't create a fisheye distortion. These lenses made rooms appear larger, ceilings higher, and characters smaller within their oppressive environments. The visual style became so associated with Gilliam that the 14mm lens is now informally known as the Gilliam among filmmakers worldwide. Directors still reference this lens choice when discussing Brazil's visual influence. The distorted, nightmarish perspective became inseparable from the film's themes of bureaucratic oppression, crushing individual humanity. Robert De Niro demanded endless takes. Robert De Niro appears in Brazil for approximately 3 scenes total, playing Harry Tuttle, the rogue heating engineer who swoops in to save the day. Despite minimal screen time, De Niro received prominent billing and a substantial salary. According to Terry Gilliam, De Niro's behavior on set was difficult. He demanded endless takes for every scene, obsessing over tiny details and researching heating duct repair techniques. His perfectionism slowed production significantly. Kim Greist, who played the female lead, apparently imitated De Niro's demanding behavior, requesting multiple takes and questioning directorial choices. Gilliam became so frustrated with Greist's performance that he cut several of her scenes from the final film. Despite the behind-the-scenes tension, De Niro's limited appearances create a mysterious, almost mythical quality for his character. Filmed in French brutalist architecture. Many of Brazil's oppressive exterior scenes were filmed at Les Espaces d'Abraxas in Noisy-le-Grand, near Paris, France. This monumental apartment complex was designed by architect Ricardo Bofill, Taller de Arquitectura. The brutalist concrete structures, with their imposing columns, repetitive windows, and cold geometric shapes, perfectly embodied Gilliam's dystopian vision. The location provided ready-made dystopia without extensive set construction. The apartments still exist, and people actually live there today. The complex has since become famous as the visual representation of bureaucratic nightmare architecture. Residents occasionally complain about tourists photographing their homes. The Hunger Games films later used similar brutalist locations, directly inspired by Brazil's aesthetic choices. The form 27B/6. The film's most famous bureaucratic detail is form 27B/6, without which no repair work can be performed by the Department of Central Services. This seemingly random number is actually a deliberate reference. George Orwell lived at 27B Canonbury Square in London, up 6 half flights of stairs. Gilliam embedded this homage despite never having read Orwell's novel. The form became so iconic that it entered popular culture permanently. The 2015 film Jupiter Ascending features a deliberate Brazil homage, with Terry Gilliam appearing in a cameo role as a bureaucrat who references Statute 27B/6. Fans still use the form number as shorthand for absurd bureaucratic requirements. Even people who have never seen Brazil recognize the reference. Universal secretly re-edited the film. While Terry Gilliam believed he was still editing Brazil, Universal Pictures assembled a secret editing team without his knowledge. 2 separate groups worked on the film simultaneously. Gilliam's team prepared the director's cut. Universal's team, under the direction of studio chairman Sid Sheinberg, created what would become known as the Love Conquers All version. Sheinberg's cut ran only 94 minutes compared to Gilliam's 142-minute version. The studio version removed key scenes, eliminated dark elements, simplified the plot, and most controversially, changed the ending completely. In Sheinberg's version, Sam Lowry actually escapes with Jill Layton, and they live happily ever after. The nightmare was revealed to be just a bad dream. Everything worked out perfectly. Gilliam was horrified when he discovered this betrayal. Gilliam bought an ad in Variety. After months of Universal refusing to release Brazil, Terry Gilliam decided to declare public war. He purchased a full-page advertisement in Variety, Hollywood's most important trade publication. The ad was simple and devastating. It read, "Dear Sid Sheinberg, when are you going to release my film, Brazil?" Sid Sheinberg was the president of Universal Pictures, one of the most powerful executives in Hollywood. By naming him directly in a public forum, Gilliam transformed a private dispute into a Hollywood scandal. The ad made headlines. Industry insiders took sides. Sheinberg responded by giving interviews calling Gilliam difficult and uncompromising. The battle became legendary, covered by every major entertainment publication. Film schools still teach this confrontation as a case study. Secret screenings for critics. While Universal held Brazil hostage, Terry Gilliam organized secret screenings of his director's cut without studio permission. He showed the film at the University of Southern California, but word leaked back to Universal and the studio tried to shut it down. Another screening at the California Institute of the Arts succeeded. Then Gilliam targeted the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. He arranged for LAFCA members to see his 142-minute cut in complete secrecy. Critics were stunned by what they saw. They recognized it as a masterpiece being suppressed by studio cowardice. The response was overwhelming. Critics immediately began championing the film, writing articles demanding its release, and building public pressure against Universal's censorship. Best Picture before official release. In December 1985, while Universal still refused to release Brazil, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association held their annual awards voting. They named Brazil Best Picture of 1985, Best Director for Terry Gilliam, and Best Screenplay. The film had not been officially released to the public yet. It had no box office numbers. Most audiences hadn't seen it. But critics had witnessed Gilliam's secret screenings and refused to let the film be buried. The awards happened on the same night that Universal premiered their prestige contender, Out of Africa, in New York. The timing was perfect. The embarrassment was total. Universal's own awards. Hopeful was overshadowed by the film they were suppressing. The compromise. Faced with mounting public pressures and critical acclaim, Universal finally agreed to release Brazil, but not Gilliam's preferred 142-minute cut. The compromise version ran 132 minutes, 10 minutes shorter than Gilliam wanted, but still preserving his dark ending and essential narrative. Gilliam supervised this version personally, choosing which scenes to trim. This theatrical American release opened in December 1985 and is the version most audiences saw. The The 142-minute director's cut was released in Europe by 20th Century Fox without any problems or controversy. The European distributor had no issue with length or darkness. Only Universal fought against the film. The 94-minute Love Conquers All version was eventually released for television syndication, where it failed completely. 3 different versions exist. Brazil exists in 3 distinct versions, each telling a different story through editing. The 142-minute European cut is Gilliam's original vision, released internationally without studio interference. The 132-minute American theatrical cut is 10 minutes shorter, but preserves Gilliam's dark ending, representing his compromise with Universal. The 94-minute Love Conquers All television cut is Sid Sheinberg's happy ending version, where Sam escapes with Jill and lives happily ever after. The Criterion Collection released all 3 versions on Laserdisc and DVD, allowing audiences to compare how drastically editing changes meaning. Film students study these cuts to understand how the same footage can be manipulated to create completely opposite emotional impacts. The Love Conquers All version is now considered a curiosity, a cautionary tale about studio interference. Norman Garwood's production designer Norman Garwood won the BAFTA award for his work creating Brazil's world. The design philosophy combined 1940s aesthetics with retro-futuristic technology. Garwood filled the world with clunky machines, exposed ductwork, typewriters, and analog computers. Nothing works properly. Everything requires forms, stamps, and approvals. The visual style influenced countless films, including Delicatessen, City of Lost Children, Dark City, The Hudsucker Proxy, and even The Matrix. Tim Burton and production designer Anton Furst studied Brazil extensively as reference material for Batman in 1989. The cluttered, decaying urban landscape filled with steam and cables became the template for dystopian production design. Garwood's work proved that low-budget ingenuity could create more memorable worlds than expensive CGI. Michael Kamen's subversive score. Composer Michael Kamen created Brazil's score by taking the Brazilian song Aquarela do Brasil by Ari Barroso and transforming it into multiple arrangements. The same melody appears as romantic orchestration, military march, shopping mall muzak, and elevator music. The song's sunny optimism becomes increasingly sinister through repetition and recontextualization. Kamen's approach satirized Hollywood blockbuster scores while creating one himself. After Brazil, Kamen was hired to score Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and other action franchises. The seeds of those scores exist in Brazil's dream sequences. Kamen proved you could be both subversive and commercially successful. Influenced. Star Wars. The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson cited Brazil as a major influence on Star Wars. The Last Jedi, released in 2017. The bureaucracy scenes on Canto Bight, where Finn and Rose navigate corrupt systems and incompetent officials, directly reference Brazil's satirical approach to authority. Johnson used Brazil as inspiration for the scene where BB-8 fixes Poe Dameron's X-Wing through mechanical improvisation. The film's themes about challenging corrupt systems and the failure of heroic narratives echo Gilliam's deconstruction of adventure stories. The production design team studied Brazil's visual approach to create the Casino Planet's oppressive atmosphere. Johnson proved Brazil's influence extends even into mainstream blockbuster franchises decades later. Terry Gilliam's cursed career. Brazil established a pattern that haunted Terry Gilliam's entire career. Almost every film he made afterwards suffered production disasters, budget problems, or studio interference. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen went wildly over budget. The Fisher King dealt with studio demands. 12 Monkeys fought against testing requirements. The Brothers Grimm suffered extensive reshoots. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote took decades to complete and fell apart multiple times. Even Gilliam joked that his productions mirror his films, where dreamers battle impossible systems. Brazil represents his only complete victory, where the director's vision survived studio interference intact. Every other project required compromise, sacrifice, or abandonment. Brazil proved what Gilliam could achieve when studios didn't destroy his work. The alternate ending explained. In Terry Gilliam's original ending, Sam Lowry sits broken and lobotomized after torture. His mind retreated into permanent fantasy. He believes he escaped with Jill, but he's actually destroyed, humming Brazil while his torturers watch sadly. The screen fades to black with Sam trapped forever in delusion. In Sid Sheinberg's Love Conquers All version, everything Sam imagined actually happens. He genuinely escapes the torture chamber. He rescues Jill from police execution. They drive off into the countryside together and live happily ever after in freedom. The nightmare was just a dream. The dystopia was defeated. Love conquered all. This happy ending completely destroyed the film's message. It transformed a warning about escapism into actual escapism. Gilliam's version remains the definitive cut, but Sheinberg's betrayal is preserved on home video as a monument to studio interference. They secretly re-edited his film. They tried to force a happy ending. They held his masterpiece hostage for months. Terry Gilliam declared war in Variety, screened the film illegally, and won Best Picture before official release. Brazil survived studio censorship and influenced 3 decades of dystopian cinema. Subscribe for more stories about filmmakers who refused to compromise their vision, even when Hollywood tried to destroy them.